This episode of Play the Game podcast is brought to you by Dizana Sports Canopy Booths, and we are super excited to announce that PTG will be rocking a custom Dizana booth at all of the WCPPL events, and we cannot wait to see you there. Dizana also has a crazy deal for PTG listeners that allows you to get a 10 by 10 foot canopy and frame for only $700 shipped. Dizana booths use durable 1.6 inch heavy duty aluminum hexagonal frames, are fully coated to provide waterproof protection, use superior fabric construction, and incorporate full color dye sublimation printing. Get your custom canopy today at dizanasports.com and mention you heard about the deal on PTG to take advantage of getting your $700 custom booth right now. Click the custom tab at dizanasports.com and start designing your booth today. Breaking news for NXL Mid-Atlantic Major. This episode is brought to you by HK Army, and they are showing major love to the NXL participants by offering $20 cases of paint to anyone attending the Atlantic City event from June 20th to the 23rd. And that means any teams, regardless of sponsorship, can get Level 5 exclusive tournament paint for only $20 a case, and the new pink shell yellow fill formula is on point. Houston Heat shot at all event in Texas and was one of 3 teams to go into Sunday 4-0, and HK Army is doing everything that they can to make paint more cost-effective for you in Atlantic City. All you got to do to reserve your paint is email my dog, Leopard King, Chad Yaya Boucher, at chad@hkarmy.com to let him know you want $20 cases of paint and AC. Once again, CHAD@hkarmy.com. Email him right now. Do not wait. Reserve your paint before it's gone. This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same-day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram, @LoneWolfPB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community.
What's going on, PTG Nation? This episode we have coach of Dallas Vibe, coach of the women's Team USA squad, Rich Adickes out of Texas. He has had a ton of success with the Dallas Vibe camp. They won World Cup and the Las Vegas Open, going back-to-back, and are currently sitting second overall for the season in the WNXL. Rich is about to embark on a massive journey overseas to compete at the NXL Paris for the Nations Cup at the helm of the women's team, who will be defending their championship from last year. And without further ado, we're going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon.
Great shot by all the guys. Tyler Harmon saved that game. He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing great out there. We got a Marcello and Mantis show popping off for episode 261. We are going to have the coach of Dallas Vibe and the USA women's team on. And we are also going to be talking about your weekend. You were just out on the East Coast and had a crazy time out there. Almost got trapped by a hurricane. So I guess we'll just start there.
Yeah, dude, they're doing everything they can to cancel my flights, keep me wherever I am, anywhere but home. But fortunately, I was able to make it out. Yeah, there was a massive hurricane. You know, when I got in Thursday night, it was on the news that there was a big storm coming, and it was kind of, brewing from a tropical storm to potentially a hurricane by landfall, but landfall wasn't supposed to happen until like Monday. So we kind of ignored it. We were supposed to get some rain over the weekend, and it kept kind of missing us. I was with Wrecking Crew. We had a practice against some of the damaged players. Kyle Berry was out there, Jason Edwards from Team USA. So we got to play some points with the 3 of us, and also Eli Roberts, one of the U16 kids, was out there. So we had like 4 or 5 of us with some other damage guys playing against Wrecking Crew as well. So it was like a
Nice.
double whammy of practice on obviously the Paris layout.
Yeah, I just played it. It's a lot of fun. I was out here in
A lot of
AZ
fun.
ripping around on it. It's a
Yeah,
good
it's
time.
a lot of fun. A lot of fun. It's fast. It's aggressive. A
Mm.
lot of action on this one for sure. Not
Yeah.
great spots to really hold zones. And then when you factor in, obviously, 2 pods for Nations Cup and 4 pods for the actual event. But in any case, we got quite a bit of rain Saturday for like 2 hours. It just started a typical Florida
Saw that.
tropical storm, came in, got out, and Saturday night, everyone was like, hey, it looks like, on the news, they issued a state of an emergency for Florida. They were like, we should probably change our flights and just cancel tomorrow. And in the back of my mind, I was like, yes, let's do that. This is a good idea. We should definitely do that. But, I'm there kind of working, so I didn't want to be the one to lead that charge. So I kind of waited for everyone to vote. And like 3 guys ended up changing their flights and leaving Sunday morning, and the rest wanted to play. So I was like, all right, we're playing, even though I kind of knew it was a bad idea. Rob drove down from New York. So he had the big, 15 passenger van. And so they had like a plan B. If they couldn't fly, they would just, everyone would drive back with Rob. And so anyway, Sunday morning we get to the field, and we sorry, this thing just popped up. But Sunday morning we get to the field, and, we're playing some points, and actually the weather has kind of missed us. We're like, it's like the calm before the storm though, in Florida, when that sky kind of, and all of a sudden we all start getting messages. My flight's canceled. I start calling, and it's the same thing as 2 weeks ago with the CrowdStrike thing. They're like, yeah, we can't get you on a flight till Tuesday. I'm like, no, this is not possible because Tuesday, the hurricane was supposed to hit Monday. So if flights weren't going out Sunday night and getting backed up Monday, like Tuesday wasn't, because it's supposed to last all through the whole week. So I was like, oh, this is a disaster. So I started looking at flights from JFK, the whole thing again, looking to fly into LA, anywhere I can. Everything's full. Tried to get on an earlier flight because it would have like just, gone out just before things got bad in Orlando, completely full. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to be staying at the airport or, in Orlando or driving back with, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then, as I'm driving, back to the house, I look again, and I all of a sudden see a bunch of seats open up. So I call, and I guess people didn't make their connections. So long story short, I was able to get a seat on an earlier flight. That flight ended up getting super delayed. I made my connection in Salt Lake City by like literally a minute. Last one on the plane again. I landed 15 minutes before the flight was supposed to take off. So they like held that plane for a few passengers, I guess. And I was one of the last ones on. So did make it home super late Sunday night. Was really lucky to do so. Happy to be here. We actually have our guest in the green room right now, hanging out. Really excited to talk to Rich today. But yeah, it was a good weekend for Team USA. Little action on the layout. Good weekend for Wrecking Crew. And yeah.
Love that.
I made it home.
Yeah, man. And we have the Dub C coming up this weekend as well. So we'll be out there with the PTG booth, recording episodes of divisional players, showing love to divisional paintball. And Mike Hinman's running Great League. So we hope to see you all out there at the Dub C. And then, yeah, the USA is going to be, Team USA is going to be heading out to France here shortly to play on that layout. And it's going to be a wild one. The middle is pretty active. There's that beam as well in the middle that you can crawl back and forth from those bricks at. And then having 2 snakes side by side like that, it's a lot of activity. There's going to be 2 in there at all times, pretty much. Probably 1 on the wire, 1 on the inside, trying to help each other out there.
Yeah, that's actually, it's a great time to bring Rich in since he is the coach of the Team USA Women's, and they will be on the field. Let's bring them on in.
Welcome, Rich.
Hey, guys.
Welcome.
Awesome.
Hey, bro. Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm blessed. I mean, 6 feet above ground, beautiful weather. Texas heat is just, it's unrelenting, man. I don't know how you do it over in Arizona.
Wait, hold on. You're levitating right now?
Oh, yeah.
Me?
Yeah, you're 6 feet above ground. How are you pulling that off?
Mindset, man.
Mindset. There we go.
Mindset. I love the room, Marcelo. I mean, I know you moved into a new house and everything. It looks awesome. Look at all those plaques and accolades. Same thing with you, Tyler, in the back.
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, man. We love this game, and obviously Marchie's been on a tear. We've been playing for a long time and feel like we're just getting started, man. Paintball is one of the greatest sports in the world, and you are at the helm of an amazing team going into France out there for the USA women's squad. So we're excited to chat about that. And then also you're coaching Dallas Vibe as well. So you
Correct.
have a lot of practice in making sure that you can field a good team. And we were just talking about how crazy this layout's going to be, and how we can get the most out of it. So on that snake side, both of us got the chance to run around on it a little bit. It was really, really active with having both of those snakes staggered like that.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to see, Too Heavy with an anchor in that corner, just giving a lot of good information to everybody on that side of the field from the snake side.
Dude, that corner, and you said it exactly right, Marcelo and Tyler. That corner is going to be a pillar in mid-game to end-game breakdown, just because of what you're able to do and what you're able to put away, and even basically hold off on the Doritos side on some of the pushes. I had a chance to play it this weekend with JC, who's one of the girls from Dallas Vibe that got invited to Team USA. I also played a little bit of the Dorito side, so. Like Marcelo, who's a coach for, Team USA, he's actually an active player, so he can relate and understand what players are going through. And I think that's what gives me an edge dealing with a lot of the WNXL teams and the women for Team USA is I actually play, so I can kind of understand some stuff and then bring on that 5,000-foot level coaching aspect.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really important being able to understand what the players are going through on the field. I often see coaches, they'll be talking to their players and say something like, hey, why, when you're in the snake one, you need to be looking this way so that you can stop that move. And you're thinking, you can't see that move. Like, have you been in that spot? Have you walked the field? Have you played it? It's so important to really, really have a high level of understanding. And even, I feel like I can grasp a field or a new layout pretty quickly. And there's times where that happens with me where I'll kind of recommend something and a player's like, I don't think I can do that from them. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can. And I go out there, I'm like, oh, it's not as great as I thought. You have to be diligent about looking over stuff over and over and over, especially if you don't get a chance to play the field. As a coach, you have to walk the field relentlessly and go through all these different scenarios in your mind and get a lot of mental reps on the field, so that you can have good advice for your players. Otherwise, you're not doing your job.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, the preparation, especially for players, when I start thinking about professional players, the ability to have memory recall and just know in an instant based on the information you're getting to make that split-second decision. Like, oh, this guy can't shoot me in the corner. I can go 2 bunkers in and shift over to the left and wha-bam, take advantage of something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I think a lot of the lower divisional players don't quite understand. There's a little bit of studying, there's a little bit of memory recall and understanding certain situations and how to exploit based on the information given and what of your repetitions on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is a ton of studying. This is something I preach consistently with any of the players that I coach. And we were talking about it with Wrecking Crew this weekend. So much of my on-field success actually comes from studying. It comes from mental repetition. It's not so much the time on the field. It's actually when I want to understand a position, I play things in my mind over and over and over and over. For example, if I'm going to go out to the can on the snake side, I have this in my mind. Okay, if they make it wide and we lose a body, I need to do this. And I remind myself of that 5, 15, 20, 30 times. If I make it to this spot and we're mirrored up and that's as wide as they are, I'm going to do this. And I just reinforce that over and over and over. Even when I get the play in the pit, as I'm walking out to the start gate, I'm thinking, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what Ryan's doing. This is what so-and-so's doing. This is what, Chris is doing. I go through it over and over and over so that when the point breaks out, it's easy to communicate what should be happening. I'm not trying to, find it in the middle of the point.
Yeah.
From the very first time you see a layout, you name the field. What do? You're constantly okay, that's the Cali, that's the Utah. You should be going through this over and over and over and over in your mind. There is so much studying to this game if you want to be really good. Tyler, obviously, I know you're a huge student in the game. You go through a similar process, but I think that is something that a lot of players don't understand. They think they just kind of can go out there and play based off their talent or the drills they've been doing, and the skills are going to carry them through. But there is a tremendous amount of studying, and that's what's required to succeed at this game.
And everybody learns and processes information differently. Like you made a great example. You're doing the visualization and the memorization. I like asking questions, right? And I'm tactile, so I like to physically be there and go through the motions and the checkoffs. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, you have to marry both of them, and also you've got to like collectively. So that's a personal job. What we're talking about is doing that personal work, but then collectively all together have to come together and say, okay, these are the formations we want to get into. These are the types of looks we're looking to give a team. You know, we want to get here, here, and here and look for this opportunity. And already be moving through those moves on the field too. And like sometimes we'll talk about there's like these hub spots on the field that you want to get to. And from those hub spots, we can build awareness, obviously get collected and try to get into our formations that we're going to look at getting into. But paintball is insane, and you're going to lose people off the break. Someone's going to get shot. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. So you also have to, like Marcelo said, in every single one of those positions, be going through a mental like rep check of what I'm going to do if I have this player with me or if I don't, or if they have one wide or if they don't, or if it's inset, if there's a player here, there. You have to go through a multitude of different things so that when you're in the game and you're playing, you're not having to think about it. Like you were saying, March, it's already there. You've already done the mental work, so you can go through those reps and hopefully make some good, clean shots and win paintball points. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Definitely like muscle memory. I know the first thing I did when I got asked by Anthony and Lori to participate for Team USA, I reached out to every individual player on the women's team and I was like, hey, how do you learn best? Tactile, visionary, auditorial, so I can get an understanding collectively of what the group needs and how to kind of approach things.
Amazing. And how did paintball start for you? When did you first get into the game?
I'm actually fairly new. I've only been in this sport for about 4 years now.
Okay, so 2020.
Yep, roughly.
You listened to PTG, it got you back into the game.
Dude, I listened to everything. I will say Paintball Fit, JD Lucal. I was looking for a field. The missus was like, hey, you need to find a hobby.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm a retired runner, D1 athlete, D3 athlete, and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I need to find something on the weekends. And I was like, well, I got a big boy job. I got some money. I can actually try paintball now. And I called Paintball Fit, and JD must have kept me on the phone for like 2 hours. It was only supposed to be like 15 minutes, but he's on the phone for 2 hours and he's talking about X-Ball. He's talking about, hey, come down here. I'll introduce you to people.
Awesome.
We'll get you squared away. And then we were talking about markers, Planet Eclipse, dye, and he just went on a tangent. And then the next week I showed up to the field and he introduced me and I sat in the pits and I observed, right? I have 2 ears, 2 eyes, right? 1 mouth. I didn't really talk very much. I just took in everything and just kept processing and asking questions. And then when an opportunity presented itself to hop on the box, I hopped onto the box. I didn't do rec ball. I just immediately hopped onto the box and started playing some X ball. I was very fortunate to meet Jerry Phillips, the owner of Shut Up We're Trying, and then Jason Bonner, the owner of Greed Paintball.
Yeah, we know Jason.
Yep.
And I've been able to pick their
Jason's
brains.
man.
And I currently play for Greed on the divisional level. And Jason's been an outstanding friend in being able to shoot ideas back and forth and ask a bunch of questions. Marcelo, I've asked you. Tyler, I haven't had a chance to really introduce myself to you and pick your brain, but I've done the same thing with like Ryan Brand, Ryan Gray, Bianca, a few of the other coaches. I read your book, Paintball IQ. And then I just started watching a bunch of video, right? Like when you love something, you find something intriguing. I Goodwill Hunting it. I go completely deep end, and just try to get as much information as possible and learn whatever I can.
Yeah, that's how you get it going. And what's it been like out at Fit? You have one of the best camps in the nation. The Fit camp is second to none. Truly amazing facility. You got night ball, glow ball. The community is really loving playing paintball. So what's it been like playing out there?
Dude, it's sometimes there's no words to truly describe it. Like I was there when PB Fit was kind of in their D3, D2 kind of phase. And then, getting hopped on with AC Dallas, filling that role, then getting regulated. then coming back for their semi-pro year. The atmosphere is definitely different. The competition, next to none. I mean, everybody's there. They're hungry. They want to win because PB Fit just caters to just X ball. That's all it is. Right. So, and then you have the pros that come in and help out. It's intimidating too, though, you know, as somebody that just pops into the sport and you see all that balls shooting 10.5 balls a second or 10.2 and people running around throwing out codes. It can be super intimidating, but, you know, I think I've read enough articles where it says iron sharpens iron, you know. It's amazing. It's a very tight-knit community, right? Everybody helps each other out. Texas just wants to dominate, right? They want to be known as number one. And the only way to do that is to show up, practice, put in the work, go through the drills, go through the points, and survive the heat.
It gets hot out there. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, this week it's like supposed to be like 104. I've temp gunned the turf and it's been like 120 plus. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal in Orlando this weekend too. The humidity they have out there is just a totally different thing. We can't prepare for that in California, no matter how hard we train. We can't do anything to prepare for that type of humidity. Makes it difficult.
But you can prepare in other ways, right? Like Marcelo and Tyler, I see that you guys go to the gyms, you're posting workouts, you have the sauna, you have the cold bath. You're able to subject your body to certain things, and that's the beautiful thing about the human body. It's able to adapt to all different conditions, right?
But not humidity. So one thing we can't train for it. It's like, I talk about it. I'm like, there's like nothing. I at home, I could go grab my cleats, run to this pretty steep hill. It's a grass hill. Put my cleats on. I can run up and down that thing all day long. Feel like a god. Don't get winded. Feeling quick. And then I land in Orlando and it's super humid and it's hot. And I play 1 point and I can't breathe. I'm sitting there just sucking air. I'm like, this is just brutal. You can't do anything for it. Like I've tried, even the steam room, go in the steam room and try to get some sort of like exercising in. Maybe I really need to push the limits with that a little bit more when we have events on the East Coast. But yeah, it's a totally different ball game. I feel like teams, and in Texas, it gets kind of humid there too, so I feel like, teams in those areas have a little bit of an advantage actually, because you get to practice in the really treacherous conditions.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that. And then you have that mindset, right? Where it's like, hey, I've gone through this. I've done triple digit heats and everything, ain't nobody able to do what I've been able to do condition wise. So then when you're in a tournament and that's that kind of atmosphere, it's just like, it's a switch, right?
Yeah. There's something to that for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
The South weather is different though. It's so heavy. It's like the pressure. It's even heavier air, So like you said, March, it's really unless you're in one of those areas, it is almost impossible to prepare for that. Because when you drop into it, the air is just completely different,
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, like I remember when I played with the Red Legion, it was actually awesome that we went to all of the events about 2 weeks early and we would train out there, because you would just be so acclimated to whatever the conditions were. And that's usually what it is too. Usually after the first day in Florida or in Texas or wherever it's really humid, after that first day of play, you're like, okay, I'm kind of acclimated. You feel a lot better. But that first day is like usually brutal.
Yeah.
It's usually brutal.
So, Rich, I liked what you were talking about. The field, local paintball is booming out there, and paintball in general can be a little bit intimidating. It is an aggressive sport. It's it's fast paced, especially the modern day and age that we're playing in. So, what are some like bits of advice you could give to maybe a player who's going to be playing competitive paintball, still kind of has the nerves about it? And actually, when we were in Boston, there was this 13-year-old girl, and she was dominating out there, doing really well. Her name is slipping my mind. Marcelo, can you help me out?
Out where?
At summer camp.
Oh, Caitlin.
Caitlin, yes.
Yeah.
And she came up to me and she said, Tyler, how do I get over the fear of like the pain and the paintball is kind of hurt? And
she asked you that?
Yeah.
Because she was fearless all weekend long. I'm like so surprised. She was like running to the 50. Every time she got shot, she like didn't even flinch. She's like,
I know.
All right, I'm out. and she was dominating people. Sorry to interrupt.
That's
but
the
I was
adrenaline, man.
Yeah. So I just told her it never stops kind of stinging, you just got to rub them and go, or whatever. And kind of, but the other best advice is just the community is always going to be there for you. Like if you're ever having a tough day, you can lean on other community members, people at the field to be there for you. And that's the great thing about paintball. But what are some like bits of advice that you would give people on kind of getting over the fear and just jumping in and having fun playing paintball?
All right. So my bits of advice is number one, don't cheap out on the paint. All right. I think good quality paint makes a really good experience when you get to see that shot just go straight and break off the loader, break off the body, right? Like a 5-star versus a field kind of paint, that $5 or $10 difference. It actually changes the experience, not only for the shooter, but for the person that's receiving it on the other end. All
Absolutely. You're spot on. I'm really glad you're saying this.
Number two, go out on.
How does it change the experience for the person receiving the hit on the other end for the listeners?
So the way it changes for the receiver is you're not going to get a ball that doesn't break or kind of goes through. So like when you get shot with a ball that doesn't have a brittle shell, it carries just a little bit more inertia. So when it hits your skin on impact, it doesn't disperse properly. And
it's way more painful.
It's way more painful. It's just way more painful. And it's not to say that, it's so painful that you can't deal. It's almost like,
no, there's some paint that should be illegal. There's some paint that should straight up be illegal. And if you're playing paintball for like your first or second time and you get hit with that paintball, you might not come back. And so it's something that I think field owners and paint manufacturers need to be incredibly mindful of, but it's not just the manufacturers, it's how paint is stored as well.
Absolutely.
And so if the storage is not good and it's really hot and, it's not climate controlled, you're going to provide a very terrible experience for new users, especially young players, Yeah.
And I deal with a lot of young players. I've been privileged at performing some clinics, especially on the female end, on the women's side, where I tell them like, hey, I want you to buy a little bit better paint. So it's a better experience, not only for you when you shoot somebody and you get to see the break and you're like, yeah. But when the person gets hit, it disperses evenly across the body or it breaks nicely and it barely leaves anything. So the paint is number one. Number two, go to the forums, go to the Facebook pages, reach out and be like, hey, where's a good place to go play recreationally? Go visit the place, right? Go see what it's like. See what kind of people are coming in, coming out. Speak to the shop, right? And then number three is you guys, the pros, right? Being readily available and open for the new generation that's coming in and I'm not saying no pro's done this, but don't snub off, a curious kid that's coming through. Just when they come up with excitement, they see you, they're just like, hey, what about this, what about that, how do you handle this, and then just finding a friend, right? There are no dumb questions. Everybody's here for a purpose, whether it's to win, to socialize, to be a part of a community, a group, a family. Everybody has different reasons. But there's that. And then as far as the fear factor, I like to do a paint dodging drill for the girls. I'll turn the gun down to about 270, 265, and I'll step away at a far enough distance, preferably at about 40 yards or so. And we'll do a paint dodging drill, but I'll have 4 or 5-star paint with me and I'll do single shots and I'll show them that there's actually time when the shot gets pulled from the ball releasing the barrel to it reaching. You actually have time to read it and react, whether you want to head dodge, play your little dodgeball scenes.
Yeah.
So I try to teach that at an early age.
Yeah. Dodgeball is a great drill, especially to show. I love being able to show players that you do have time to react, but they are going to get hit as well. And in that, they're going to be like, oh, it's not so bad, especially at 270.
Yeah. And then, as you get more advanced, we'll turn it up and we'll reduce the distance. But, there's multiple ways you can do it. But I think providing good atmosphere, buying good quality paint, checking out the community and, asking questions.
Absolutely. And Major League Paintball, I'm sure everybody saw was on TV, ESPN this last weekend, and even got a double dip. We got to be on again Sunday morning at a really great time slot, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 East. So that was really cool to see. I watched it again at 9 a.m. out here on the West Coast to try and pad the stats a little bit more, but it's really cool to see that. And they even had a commercial where you can find a paintball store and a field near you. So if anybody out there is interested in playing paintball, you can go to majorleaguepb.com, and they have a whole area there where you can find stores and fields and get into the game, which is really cool to see on that commercial for the show there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did an incredible job. It was a great marketing opportunity for the league. So I'm curious to see the numbers. Hopefully, enough people watched and enough people were excited. I saw some funny. We were in the van on the way to practice, and somehow some of the Wrecking Crew players found this on social media. But there was like someone making a reel, kind of making fun of Major League Paintball. You know, of like the ESPN things. Like, man, what am I watching? This and that. But then like someone makes a movie, he's like, oh hell no, that was dope. And he like through the reel, he goes from like talking shit about it to like super engaged. He's like, this is some of the dopest shit I've seen.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty funny.
Nice.
But you know, that's like a random person who I don't think was a paintball player. I mean, his profile didn't show any you know, anything to indicate he was already a paintball player. But you know, to me, it's just one piece of the puzzle that is falling in place right now. You know, so how good it does is important, sure, but at the same time, there's a lot of really exciting things happening around the game right now, a lot of really exciting opportunities. And yeah, paintball is just definitely in a good direction.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man, seeing everything come to fruition. Because I remember being a kid sitting on a couch with a broken leg when I was younger, turning on ESPN and seeing some of the paintball being played with, I think they were like shockers back in the day, or impulses something like that.
All the classics.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool to see it back on TV. And I think they did a phenomenal job with the production. Shout out to everyone that worked tirelessly on that project. I know it wasn't easy. We had Maddie on. He was talking about, you know, the process and how much work goes into making something like that. So congrats to everyone that blood, sweat, and tears put it all out there to have a great show and a great showing for paintball. I really felt like it was digestible. People understood the game. And as it progresses, it's a great launching point for just more exposure. And that's what we're looking for, is people need to know that we exist, and they're starting to know pro paintball is a thing, which is great.
Oh, it's going to take off, man. Once the algorithm and we figure all that stuff out, you know, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I agree. Rich, I was really excited to talk to you about your time with Dallas Vibe, and, you know, don't take this the wrong way, but I think from an outside perspective, the team appeared to have overachieved. Now, being within the camp, you probably didn't feel that way. You get to see these players day in and day out, but you guys win back-to-back tournaments, World Cup, and then Vegas, which is an incredibly hard thing to do. It's hard enough to win back-to-back at any point, but to go from World Cup and then carry it into the next season is also incredibly difficult. I'm just curious as to what the formula looked like and how you guys overcame teams like, you know, again, the Heroines last year were a favorite, and, you know, maybe it's a hype thing, right? Maybe certain teams get more media than others. That happens in every single sport. But then certainly this year, it seemed like, you know, they had picked up a bunch of, you know, superstar players, and they kind of had like the Megatron team. They did win the last event. They're sitting in first overall right now. But you guys still came out and won the first event. So you guys have had a ton of success as well, and kind of shocked everybody. Again, at least from the outside perspective, I know that is never how it feels from within the camp. But talk to us about the formula and how you have found that success with that team.
So, first off, thanks for the compliment. Last year was my first time coaching the girls, right? So it was basically trying to get used to different coaching styles, right? Zoe won the first inaugural event, I believe, for the WNXL with Dallas Vibe. And then they went through their season and they didn't come through and win a series title. The second year of the WNXL, the Luke Howell family politely asked if I would be willing to try to take on that task and fill such big shoes. So I went ahead and did that. And then I kind of took it from an approach of, you know, this is what I expect from you, laying out like practices, certain commitment levels, physical routines. And that second year, we never made a Sunday until World Cup, where we ended up winning World Cup. But if you looked at all the other matches, we lost a lot of them in overtime, and they were all really close matches that prevented us to make Sundays. So we kind of knew that our formula was kind of there, where, the girls, they come out, they play hopper ball, whether it's Wednesday or Friday. They come out and play Saturday and Sunday. They don't play every day. Financially, this is an expensive sport, right? So my job is to try to maximize every ball that gets pulled by the trigger for these girls and have them doing some workouts and some routines. I will not lie. I've taken/borrowed a lot of content from BKI, from Marcelo,
Awesome.
from you, Tyler, especially on some of your slide cancel drills. And then I kind of incorporate it into our practices. So we do drill days at least once or twice a month, and then we'll do and play points. But it's really the culture, right? It's getting everybody to understand, hey, this is what it's going to take if you want to be competitive. Yes, the Heroines, that is a stacked team. I'm jealous in a way because of all that talent and experience and knowledge. But I come from a background where if you put the work in and you stick consistently to a plan, things will evolve and come through. Talent doesn't mean you're a sure win.
Absolutely.
So I take the long approach. I look at the entire season, but ultimately I want to win World Cup. I think everybody remembers who wins World Cup. Yeah, everybody kind of remembers who wins, the first major, the second, the middle one, but World Cup kind of has some gestalt to it.
It's the one.
It's the one, right?
It's the one.
So we tailor everything for that last event, and we try to build off of everything, right? And then having discussions. Yeah, is there times that we agree to disagree? Absolutely. I don't know what team doesn't have that. But for me, it's kind of trying to understand my players, right? Taking the time to get to know them, what works, what doesn't work, how can I get that extra 1% out of them in order to execute something. So we play ball like everybody else. I don't think there's anything truly special. It's the fact of being consistent. And that's the hardest thing in any sport is consistency, right? And if you're able to somehow harness the consistency, reduce the errors, and make everything that you can control controllable within your means, then you let the cards lie, that little bit of luck, that little bit of weather, then it works out in your favor. But yeah, no, the girls, they're working out throughout the week, Monday through Friday. They come, they play with the boys, whether it's the fit boys, Division 2 boys, Division 3, Division 5, and then they run drills, right? I have an exit toll. So when I have time with them, when I'm at practice with them and I'm giving them my time, before they leave and they pack up and they want to go home and catch their favorite Netflix show, they have an exit drill, whether it's sprints, shots, running and gunning, crawling. You don't leave Coach Adickes' practices unless you pay your exit toll. And that can be 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. A lot of little things, right? There's so many things that go into it, man.
Yeah, it sounds like you mentioned culture, and it sounds like within the culture you have made it a staple to just try to do a little bit more than your opponent, work really hard, which are all things you can control. And that helps and leads into what you kind of referred to earlier, the mentality. When you get to the event and you're actually competing against other teams, if you truly believe that you've worked harder than your opponents, you've studied more than your opponents, and you've done all these little things a little bit better, a little bit harder, you're going to have an advantage. It's almost like, it's more potent than the placebo effect, of where like, if you just believe you're doing something, whether it actually has benefit or not, if you believe it's working, then it's going to help you. But you're actually doing stuff in the process as well. So that part of the game is absolutely crucial. And, it's a big part of why we have advocated for so long, even just working out for paintball. outside of all the reasons Tyler and I believe working out is an important part of paintball, you'll have some of the old heads say, oh, we don't need to work out, this and that. Forget all the benefits that you get on the actual field. Mentally is where it really helps you. You know, if you put yourself in the deep end in the gym, you know, in between tournaments, it just makes it that much easier when you're actually on the field in the tournament. You're tired. It's Sunday. You can't win a tournament on Friday. You know, you can't win when you're completely fresh. And, you know, if you haven't done all the hard stuff in practice, you're going to really struggle to find that within yourself, you know, come late Sunday.
Well, when you need to dig into that reservoir to pull something out of your, you know, your bag of tricks. And then accountability. I mean, heck, if I'm late by a minute, I'm running laps. I'm doing suicides with them. I'm doing push-ups. I'm doing burpees.
Hold up. Are you ever late by a minute though?
There's times I do end up being late by like a minute or two, traffic or, you know, tire thing. It happens.
Traffic or a tire thing? Is that what?
Traffic or a tire thing, you know,
shame.
Sometimes it happens, but you know what? I'm not above the law. I'm not above the team. I'm doing the drills.
Yeah.
And I do everything with them.
Did you see how Rainey Stanzik?
Yeah. Yeah. He makes he has like a wheel that he spins. So if someone's late and they have like a couple of fences and I love it. I mean, I've always had accountability at practices and I've always done stuff kind of like that. I just typically don't record it. Actually, we did make a hilarious Wrecking Crew video like 4 years ago, and it was the hot chip challenge. One of the players was late by like half a day, and we made him eat the hot chip. He had to eat the hot chip, put his goggles on, and run and play a one-on-one. And he had to keep doing it until he won a one-on-one. He was like bleeding through his eyes. It's like one of the funniest videos of all time.
I did the gummy bear challenge, and the hot gummy bear challenge, and that almost killed me. I'm done.
It's important to have some sort of accountability. You're absolutely right. And if you are the coach or the owner and you're the one that's putting these rules into place, you are also part of that. And, you know, huge shout out to Rob, the owner of Wrecking Crew. I mean, he lives and dies by everything he preaches. He does not ask anybody on the team to commit or do more than what he's willing to do. And, you know, that is the mark of a successful organization, is when it's from the top down. You know, you don't have somebody just pointing fingers saying, oh, you got to do this, this, and that while you're sitting on the couch with a bag of chips late to practice. You know what I mean? So, you know, it really does make a difference. And that also leads into the mentality as well. Like when you have a team that is like, hey, even my coach is bought in, even the pit crew is bought in, the owner is incredibly bought in, like everyone is on the same page. It's hard to fail. It's hard to fail when you have that many people, you know, within an organization that are just so committed to what everybody is doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the cornerstone. That's it right there. I want to talk to you about you were a runner, a D1 athlete, and that was in college, I would imagine. So what was that like running?
So I was running D1, and then I dropped down to the Division III. I actually had a heart attack at an early age. I had heart surgery. I actually have a pacemaker, so I play with a pacemaker. I have a cool little bounce vest that I get to play with. It was tough, man, because there is no start over, right? If you look at the Olympics right now, if you false start in 100 meters or if you false start in any of those races, they don't really reset you guys midway through. It's a one and done thing. You know, I used to get made fun of by football players, right? Where it's just like, oh, running's easy. And I'm like, all right, go ahead, run a 4:10 mile and tell me if you could do that, or a sub 60 second quarter. You know, I told them, like, listen, if you make a mistake in one quarter, you got 3 other quarters to make up for it, hopefully, you know, or multiple plays to make up for it. I fall down in a 5,000 meter race, I probably can't make contact back with the lead pack. And then there's no cheating, right? Well, not cheating. There's no shortcuts. You can't fake a sub 4 minute mile, right? You either can do it or you can't. And you have to commit to the plan and be consistent. That's the same approach I take with coaching and with training with the women. Is you have to be consistent and you have to look at the long term, right? You can't fake and try to have shortcuts on the fundamentals or the understanding, the base IQ stuff. And that's why, like, I make the girls read Marcelo's Paintball IQ book, and then I ask them questions about it, right? So there's a basic IQ understanding where we're trying to fill the gap maybe on experience.
That's why you guys won those back-to-back events. I'm seeing it now. I get it.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel here, man. There's so much content and things out there, borrow it, use it. You guys say it's really not a secret. There's no secret. You're giving the secrets away. The question is, are you willing to listen and implement them?
Absolutely.
Game is free. It is free here on Play the Game podcast. Yeah.
100%.
Yep. Well, that's amazing. And you're a trooper for, going through what you went through, persevering, and then being where you're at now. And we're super excited to watch you and the girls play in France to bring home that gold for the USA women's squad. So talk a little bit about what it's been like being at the helm of something so important for our country and for all these ladies who are going to go take the field out there.
I'm not going to lie. I just got chills when you reminded me about all that. It's a load. It's definitely a challenge because of expectations, right? Nikki and crew last year did a fabulous job. So to try to fill those kind of shoes, it's really hard. The women that we have, probably the best players in the world. Absolutely. I believe it wholeheartedly. It's going to take work. There's no shortcuts around it. I think right now it's just developing a relationship, understanding the capabilities of each player and where to plug them in order to get what we need done. I'm not going to lie. I've been talking to Ryan Gray. I've been talking to Marcelo a little bit. I've been talking to Mike Bianca and trying to pick their brains and even SK's brain on how do they normally break down a layout? How do they find the efficiency in getting things taken care of with the limited amount of time that we have? I'm definitely going to be leading. I'm going to be utilizing some of the leadership on the women's team with more of the senior veterans and being able to be my R2D2 and getting certain things done and across. It's a team effort. It's not just one person, right? I think what a lot of people don't understand is that with a coach, everybody thinks the coach has 100% control or can make 100% of a difference. But once the breakout happens after 15 seconds, that's on the players to be able to dissect the game and figure out how to get to the mid game and the end game and close it out, and then we're able to make those small adjustments and get them through it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. It's there's only so much you can plan for as a coach. I do think it's really important to try to prepare your players for whatever potential situation might happen after the breakout. That's kind of the if this then that, right? So, any of the players that have played for a team that I coach, that's a big part of our process. We'll have our game plan, but then we have a ton of contingencies. And, I try to download them with as much information as possible. But then the cherry on top is, okay, now that you have all of this information, the last thing I want you to do out there is be constantly thinking about this information. You have to study it and study it and study it before. And then when you play, you just have to play. And you have to hope that information is stored somewhere deep in the subconscious by then because you've done the work and you're able to react from the information rather than think about the information. It's two totally different things. And that is what leads to a lot of mistakes is players will just sit there and overthink. And I've seen that with teams and players that I coach as well. And I have to pull them aside again and be like, hey, forget everything that I've been talking about. You just have to play. You know the information already. So you have to just kind of trust yourself. There's a weird ebb and flow, kind of a balance to that.
Yeah. And to try to keep that ebb and flow constantly in yin and yang, it's a struggle, but it's part of a coach's responsibility, I believe.
It is. Absolutely it is. And again, like it's so important to try to prepare the players for what could go wrong after the breakout, after those, those 15 seconds. And that's something that I try to do, on every layout. And actually, I'm really excited. You're going to have a weekend of practice with me as well. We'll be out there. I think it's August 16th through the 18th. We'll be out at Boston Paintball in Maynard. We'll have the U19s and U16 squad there. We'll have the women's team there. I don't believe the men's or veterans will be there. So it'll just be the three of us. And we're going to have a really good weekend. I know some like semi-pro teams, maybe P-Mob or some upper divisional teams will come out and kind of help the teams prep. Sometimes some of the local pros will come out. If we could get like Harrison Fry and Kyle Nicolau, some of them, Keith DeVitt has been out there before. But yeah, we'll have a great practice. And after that weekend, a pretty good understanding of the field for sure.
Yeah, I had the girls play this weekend a little bit to get some feedback. We got a team meeting tonight. Then we'll go make some adjustments, have them work on certain things and start looking at things. And then another team meeting, right? Consistency. Have a plan for this. So then when we get to practice in Boston, there's checkoff boxes that we can knock out, be efficient, and questions I can ask you, right? In order to further along the discussion.
Mm-hmm. Spot on. I think Ty is struggling. His kids must be zapping up all the Wi-Fi right now.
Oh man.
Yeah, you were frozen. Megatron can't hear you, but he's been going through it lately with the Wi-Fi. I feel bad. Hey, we do have some Discord questions, and I wanted to hop into one here from CM Harry. He wants to know, what do you feel will help the WNXL next year if you could add or take away one thing?
Man, that's really hard because that's a question I've been having, or a discussion I've been having with a lot of the owners on the side. I mean, it's great right now that we get to play on the semi-pro field, that we're casted and everything. If there's anything I would add, maybe a little bit more sponsorship, a little bit more help to kind of to grow the WNXL. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the men's have been around for quite a long time. So there's been a much more established base of a community. Not to say that women haven't been a part of it. It's just there's been more time for that to develop. And because of that time to develop, there's more, it's not like funding. It's just there's more consistency in that aspect. With the women, I feel, because of the financial barriers sometimes and how expensive this is, and we've only been playing 3 events and how expensive it is to play NXLs in general, I feel the league should try to do a little bit more to subsidize to get more growth, so then we can create that base a little bit better, right? You're looking at 20 plus years, 2.5, 3 years,
Absolutely.
where you're trying to make it, and it's great, right? It's a place of their own where the women can compete without saying like, hey, this man didn't do this for me. I did it myself. I dunked on this person, because what is it? I think there's only one female over in Europe that's actually playing on a pro European line, and she's from like Carnage or something like that.
She is really, really good.
But you don't see that over here in America yet, right? I think in time it might potentially happen. It's just right now, it's just too new. And I think there needs to be a little bit more subsidies or funding to make it possible for more growth.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting how it has evolved. So for the longest time over in Europe, there were way more women paintball players than there were in the US. You hardly saw them in the US. I think like in the early mid 2000s, we had a decent run of some, high-end women paintball players that were kind of making a splash, but then that fizzled out. And in Europe, there's been really a ton of them over the last, decade and a half that I've been going over there. And in the last couple of years, the US has like far surpassed it. And now you have Caitlin from camp is a great example. You now are having these young players that are female, that are these young phenoms that we haven't really ever seen, especially the youth. I think that is like, the biggest wake up call to me is that young women are starting to play the game. Girls are playing the game.
We had Hadley. We brought up Hadley to play over in the Mid-Atlantics, and she was only 14, and she got stuck in with a one-on-one with the Cheetahs with Barnes, and she ended up losing that. But I'm like, you're only a year in. She has like 4 or 5 years of experience, and give that time, it's going to be a completely different story.
Totally. And as for like growing the WNXL, I mean, I say this is the same thing with the NXL. We need more player stories. We need to do a better job of covering the athletes. anyone that I ever talk to about sports, they have their teams or their favorite players that they follow and they watch. And that's what actually keeps them engaged in watching them. And it's like Caitlin Clark. Oh, we got him back. There we go. He's back. He's back.
It's the robot.
Yeah. But it's like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Look at the splash those two are having.
It's awesome
on the WNBA right now. WNBA numbers are better than they've ever been. There's more engagement and more people watching because of two transcendent athletes. You can't deny it. People care about watching them, partially because their rivalry in college, and they're just interesting players to watch. They have personalities. They had all this beef last year, and so like people are tuning in to watch. And if you don't,
love drama.
They love drama, and if you don't have if people don't, Maddie was just saying it great on the show. You got to make people care. You got to make people give a damn. So yes, like we need a documentary about pick a couple WNXL players. We need a documentary about them. Follow them through their lifestyle, their journey, how hard they practice, how hard they train, how they study, how they really do treat this like a professional sport. Like I was out in Florida this last weekend, and again, it was like all of Florida was in a state of emergency pretty much, so everyone was like, are we going to have a bad hurricane or not? And the field, it was like the sky was weird. I mean, it definitely had some mega weird vibes. And guess what? The Blanco sisters were out at the field doing drills and trying to hop in whenever they could. They were there Friday when the field was closed doing drills by themselves. And then they're there Saturday, Sunday, just trying to get points in, so like this is stuff you don't see. I don't think they're posting about this on social media, but they are hard working paintball players. And then it shows up on the field. So having documentary or stories told about some of these players would make people give a shit and be like, you know what? I want to tune in and watch the Heroines versus Dallas vibe. That's going to be a hell of a match because, I got a couple players on this team, couple players on that team. I'm interested to see who's going to win. They got beef. Like, tell me about it. You know, like, do any of the women's teams have beef with one another? I guarantee they do. I don't know about it. Yeah. But like, why are we not promoting that? We need to be doing a better job of creating the excitement.
Yeah, and I think we've done a good start with a lot of the YouTube channels, right? Like Ronnie Dizon's channel that he has going on, Brandon Fry's, Paintball Fit, the Fit Life stuff that's going on. It's a start, right? It's better to be somewhere than nowhere, but we need to now elevate it.
100%.
Yeah, I was just watching the Olympics, and Noah took gold in the 100 meter. It was a really exciting race. And I would have not been so into that race had I not seen, I think it was on Netflix, a series about sprinters, and then I saw that show, saw all the runners, and it made me want to watch those races. We need to do a really good job of telling great stories like Maddie March says, and make people really get invested in the characters, in the participants, because that is going to drive so much engagement to people wanting to watch paintball games. In general, it doesn't matter what the sport is. If you fall in love with the characters, you are going to be in love with the shows. You're going to be in love with everything that goes along with that sport and those people. So I think the better we can do at that, the more growth we'll have. And we have some really exciting projects that are coming up that are going to help with facilitating that as well, which is cool to see.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah, and we have people that are really excited that you're here from local Verb. Verb. He's out there in Texas with you. He's in the Discord chat here, and he's stoked that you're on the show. He said, my buddy Rich, what is your favorite food and your favorite place to eat it? Why is it gummy bears in Atlantic City?
No, the gummy bears in Atlantic City almost did me dirty, man. I'm not a spicy kind of guy. I like Vietnamese food. I'm half Vietnamese, so I like a bowl of pho, and I like spring rolls with the peanut sauce and soy sauce. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, right?
Have you had the spring? So we always get barbecue beef spring rolls with the peanut sauce.
Yeah, I've done beef. I've done beef, shrimp. Like my grandmother's from Vietnam, so like when I go back to New York and I visit, because I'm originally from New York, she'll cook up an entire feast, and you can't go wrong, man.
Dude, that sounds incredible. I want to come to one of those dinners. All right. I got a question from Patty Rice. He goes, Rich, shout out to the homie and fit fam from one of the awesome minds of the game. Got to give the homie his flowers. I guess you're always at the field giving tips, so that's awesome too. He says, I know you're always doing great drills and situations with the Vibe and Greed Camp, and we have seen you take it to some rosters that are stacked on paper. What is one team drill and one individual drill that you think has helped exponentially progress the Vibe squad?
So one individual drill, especially for the women, I try to get more gun time in their hands so they're familiar with their markers, right? Like you said, youth wise, some of these players have only been maybe playing for a year. So I remember listening to a thing with, I think it's John Jackson, used to play for AC Dallas. I think he's now on X Factor. He's like, hey, I used to just go around just snapping and shooting poles and getting that depth perception, right? Or
Matt Jackson.
Matt Jackson. So individually, I just have them just shoot the poles and just work on switching the hand, keeping the marker up, not dropping the barrel during the transition phase, right? And keeping your eyes up. That's just one simple individual drill. Team drill, Jason Bonner from Greed, the owner of Greed, has us doing the telephone drill, where we'll play a certain situation with either it's a 2v3 or a 4v2 with a timed purpose. And it's either, hey, we need to have X amount of information and somebody needs to be able to repeat it before you can initiate into a gunfight or move to your secondary or tertiary bunker. So those are two of the things I really like to do. Personally, for me, like one of my favorite drills is a boxing one where I have 3 different kinds of cones at different depths. And I'm in a box formation going from left to right, back and reverse. And I'm trying to hit the target and work on stability. Some people, I think he has a podcast. God, he used to be on Aftershock. Really, really quick dude.
Carl Markowski's
sea drill. So he has a video of a sea drill that I found on YouTube. So I kind of made a hybrid version of that, where, you know, you're doing that and then you're taxing the body. You know, sometimes I'll throw in, you know, burpees or some sprints, then go ahead, pick up the gun while you're in the fatigue state where you're not cognitively always thinking, but hey, when these points are going 5 or 6 minutes and you need to hit that shot, you know, things like that.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be tired. Got to be tired when you're making those shots in the big games.
Yeah.
You know what I love the most actually about that is it shows how much of a student you actually are, because you're talking about a bunch of information that you have learned and gathered from other people, essentially, which is kind of what we all do. But I think people are like afraid to admit, you know, that they get information or study, you know, their opponents or their peers. But there is so much information out there right now, especially this modern day with YouTube and BKI and the podcast and all the shows and platforms. If you are not tuning in and you really say that you want to become a professional or be high level in this sport and you're not consuming all the content, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. I ask questions, man. Like I go up to any pro, like even Kyle Berry, you know, I met him. I got to play with him for an XTPL champions event over at PB Fit that the Luke Howes put on. And I'm like, hey, what is your number one drill that you love? You know, explain it to me, write it down, show me it. And then I retain it. And then I'll go find another pro and I'll ask them, or I'll ask Mike Bianca, I'll ask Ryan Gray, hey, what's one thing you think is truly vital to be successful at the lower divisional level? Somebody will be like, hey, running gun. Okay, so I'll create or come up with a drill that's running and gunning, right? Or, you know, diving, hip sliding. Tyler, the one drill that I loved from BKI, it was kind of like a CrossFit slide canceling where you're going left, right, up and back, and you're hitting that one pole or that one shot. Man, I put the girls through that and they threw up, but they were excited. They were so excited about that process. And I did it with them, right? Accountability. I do the same drills that I make these girls do with them to show that, hey, I'm not above the law, but I'm having fun with it. We make little TikTok videos with it. And it's that,
nice.
It's that culture. We everything comes around at some point in time. You know, I'm just thankful that I have a great community to reach out to pick brains, the Luke Howes, Jason Bonner, the pros, Kyle Berry, yourself, Mike Bianca. Like, that's the thing. As long as the community is still open and willing to push the information out there and you're willing to listen and receive it, there ain't nothing you can't do.
That's right. That's one of the most amazing things about this sport is the inclusivity and everybody really going to bat for each other, trying to help each other grow, reach new levels, attain the goals that they've set for themselves. And you all are doing it with a profound effect out there at FIT and have taken it to a whole nother level. You're an inspiration truly for fields across the country and across the world to try to emulate, to be like that area that you guys have all cultivated and made such a powerful culture. So do not stop what you all are doing out there. And we are also super excited to watch the journey that you're about to go on here in a few weeks, leading into, the big tournament over there in France. So make sure the social media keeps rolling with a lot of good content, because we want to see all that and all the stories coming out of there.
Yeah, I'm going to do my part, right? Like and subscribe, push it out there, and being a good community member. That's my part in everything.
Yeah. I love it, brother. Well, looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Thank you for gracing us with your presence on the show. Congrats on all the recent success. Congrats on being named head coach of the women's Team USA squad. That's a tremendous honor. And we head over there with a ton of pride. So we have our work cut out for us over the next month, but really looking forward to it. And we'll see you soon.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. God bless, and have a great week. I'll see you soon, Marcelo.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
Peace.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to ptgpaintball.com, click the orange Patreon link in the corner, and support the show. We greatly appreciate it. We have tiers as low as $1.99 a month. That is nothing, guys, and it'll give you access to the Discord, where you get access to the players chat and get to mingle with the entire PTG community. We have tons of different pros in there. Tyler and myself are very active, and it's an amazing way to support the show. We also have amazing other tiers. If you want to be one of the best, want to be a GOAT, sign up for the GOAT tier. It's the greatest way to support us. And each month we do a private live stream show, one-on-one kind of thing, to where it's just the GOATs, and Tyler and myself will bring in some special guests every now and then, but you get to ask us questions in real time, live on the air, and you get lots of inside juicy news that we don't share on the show. So as always, we will see you guys very soon.